John, when you chat with somebody that lived on the sidelines, you wear the sideline bucket hat. That is former, now retired Packer trainer Pepper Burruss. Pep, thanks for being here on Inside Wisconsin.
Ooh, I love being with you guys. It's you got the local, we got the distance. One is where I live now. One is close to where I used to live. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to correct you. You got to call us athletic trainers because everybody's got a trainer now. But it's all good.
Yeah, that is true. I'm going to do my best to not be distracted by that foolish-looking hat on my partner. So we'll start in Wappingers Falls, which is, and I realize that this is a long story, so you can go ahead and Reader's Digest for us. But how does one go Wappingers Falls, Purdue, Jets, Packers?
Cliff Notes. One of my very rare high school athletes was a collegiate scholarship winner at Boston College, Bob Rush. I said, hey, where do I go to college? On and on. He said, hey, come out and meet our athletic trainer, Bob Reese. He's youngest head trainer in Division I football. I went out there, told him that I had applied to school and I want to come to school at Boston College to be an athletic trainer. And he said, sorry, can't make you an athletic trainer. I got brokenhearted. I said, why? He said, I don't have an approved curriculum. He said, go where I go. Where I went. I said, where's that? He said, Purdue. I said, where's that? He pointed like west. And I went to Purdue, and the rest is history. But there's a few other caveats in there. Bob was a Purdue grad. He ended up leaving Boston College, went to the Buffalo Bills to work for another Purdue grad. If you're sensing nepotism, there's a little bit of that. I went to Northwestern and with no intent of going to college to go to physical therapy school. But when I was there, all of the full-time athletic trainers were physical therapists. In my junior year, I made the mistake of saying, what do I do next year? He said, going to physical therapy school. I said, where? He said, any damn place you can get into. And that was a mistake because that was a challenge. And went to Northwestern. Bob Reese left the Buffalo Bills, got the head trainer's job at the Jets. I said, great. I know a trainer with kind of my favorite home team. And wouldn't you know, in August of that year, he called back to Purdue because he needed an athletic trainer. A young guy, one of his guys had moved on, and the boss there said, why don't you call Pepper? He's leaving physical therapy school. And he did. And there you have it.
And the rest is history. 42 years in the NFL later. Pep, you tell the story that you worked 42 years in the NFL. You never applied for a job, and you still don't have a resume. True?
Correctamundo. I had 2 NFL jobs, one for 16 seasons, one for 26 seasons. Never applied for either one of them, and I do not have a resume, let alone a CV. That would take me too much time to make a CV. You got to keep those things being built. So, correctamundo.
It's great when the work speaks for itself and you don't actually have to brag it up when it comes through. So what was the call like when they said, hey, we could use you in Green Bay?
Well, see, Ron Wolf was with the Jets. He came out there with the Jets, and he and I became fast friends, not because of my skills and scouting or anything, but I know how to do tools. And he would call, say, hey, we've got this thing with our swimming pool, which I used to put in as a kid. And came out and did that. And they said, hey, this TV cable doesn't work. And I did that. So when he got the job with Green Bay, I simply congratulated him and said, tell your wife, Edith, tell Edie, have screwdriver, we'll travel. And of course, that was in 91. February of 92, he called me up and said, hey, I want to talk to you about the job out here. I said, what job? He said, well, head trainer's job. I said, well, Dominic's out there. And Dominic told me he wanted to work through that, the 92 year. He said, well, we'll see about that. Here I'm telling the boss what. And the next day I got a phone call or a phone message on that little machine. You used to have to rewind the tape. And it was like, Ron Wolf, Pepper, you're right. See you at the combine, which was the next week. And here I was telling the general manager of Green Bay Packers that his athletic trainer was going to stay another year. And he called me back and said, you're right. So he offered me the job at the combine. And I did not give him a firm answer until October that year. Because, John, I wasn't sure I could do it. Leave the largest NFL city in the world for the smallest. The Packers weren't killing it, but we had been to 8 playoff games and won 3 of them. And if I'm not mistaken, the Packers had like a 25-year drought. At the time you were coming out of high school, I think they won a playoff game.
Yep.
And I just didn't know. And some prayer, some console, and you guys will like this. Jerry Holmes was a defensive back with the Jets, a little skinny guy. We used to compete on who had the skinniest legs, and I think he had skinnier than mine, way faster than mine. But I called him up, said, Holmesy, what's it like in Green Bay? What do you mean, Pep? I said, like small city, and hey, we're in the melting pot of America in New York. I mean, racial tension, weird stuff. Pep, forget about that. Here's the deal: if you're big and you're black and you walk through the mall, you're getting asked for an autograph. Outside of that, it's all good. I said, I can deal with that. We're all good.
Totally different ball game. So from, as you said, the largest NFL city to the smallest NFL city, and yet your wife has a famous quote that you shared with me. Pep, if you get fired, I ain't leaving. Green Bay is home now, and you're still here in retirement. Tell us about that.
Considering she's from Chicago, and of course I drug her to, she was trained as a BSN nurse, a bachelor's nurse, worked on Long Island, and she never really told me how much she didn't like Metro New York. We're there 16 years. We had our first child there. And when I don't think I told you this, Trevor, when I came home, I think it was the Cleveland game in '92, and I had been on the phone with Ron Wolf, and we were talking about this, that, and the other thing. And when I came home, got home later in the evening and told my wife, I said, I think we can do this. She said, do what? I said, I think we can take that job in Green Bay. She jumped out of the bed and did this with the fist bump. Yes, yes, yes. And I said, what's that all about? She said, I wanted you to make the decision. About buckled my knees. That, what kind of wife is that? That she didn't. If she had told me how much she wanted to get out of Metro New York, I'd have taken less money, less perks, less this, less that, and told Ron Wolf the day he called, I'm in. And but to your question, that she would tell me, she said, you know what? When you get fired, I'm staying. And if you tell that to a Rotary Club local, they love that stuff.
So we know what the team was, and it was ascending. But what did you find in your job when you showed up in Green Bay?
Dated. I actually had said to Ron Wolf, I said, Ron, Green Bay is known to be a little frugal. Hey, anything you need, you go through me. I said, well, the staff, he said, your call. Doctors, he told me what the situations was, and the long and short of it is the Packers were frugal, and they did things a certain way, and I got to bring computers in, and we might have been the first team in the NFL to use computers for our drug inventory at the Jets and scouting combine. And I don't know if I was met with open arms. Mike Reinfeldt was the CFO back then, and he's like, uh-oh, I'm going to control this guy. But we renovated the athletic training room, and medical records went from manila folders to whatever. But, it was all good. If I was coming into a well-oiled, perfectly running machine, I'm not sure it would have been, I don't want to say a challenge. I don't know if it would have been fun. This was an opportunity to put my stamp on it. And it was all good.
Pep got here in '93, right? 42 years in the NFL, 26 seasons, though, in Green Bay. John asked you how different the training room was when you got here in comparison, but look at Lambeau Field in the time that you were here. Pep, I mean, like, when you walked in, that thing was a tin can. When you walked out in 2019, it's like a palace. What was that like?
But the one thing that didn't change, and I'll quote the late coach from Aaron Campman's home, Parkersburg, Iowa, the Sacred Acre. The field didn't change. Trevor, when I think 81 was the first time I was in Lambeau. In fact, we flew in, it was a preseason game. I think we flew in on an Eastern Airlines L-1011. And I still remember seeing the paper like either that day or the next day, the local and state thing said, we're going to offer tours of the first jumbo jet to land at Austin Straubel. I'm like, oh boy, where were we? But still, that south end zone locker room, I walked through that upper tunnel, not through the player tunnel, and I walked out and saw that field, and I went, ah! It was the most gorgeous grass field I'd ever seen in my life. And so yes, it had its flavor. I mean, the little locker room, the visitors' locker room, which I understand, John may correct this, but I understand that south end zone building was where the famous Art Star sneak and the locker rooms were on the south end.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, the Cowboys and the Packers shared a building, and it was divided by a wall, but that was on that right where our locker room was as a visitor. But most of my trips here early on were to Milwaukee County Stadium. But that first time was wow.
Mm-hmm.
And then to see the plans to change this, add this, a scoreboard, close this, some skyboxes here, and then the big changes, the renovation that about the vote about killed Bob Harlan to get that vote through, which passed 53 to 47 to add a 0.5% sales tax. But right now, if you went 53-47, I think if you polled people in the county, it's probably 99 to 1 who voted for that.
Correct. Same number of people that were at the Lambeau Leap game. Yeah.
Or the 700,000 at the Ice Bowl.
A lot of people at the Ice Bowl when that comes as well. So this sounds terrible, but we used to go, and because I was close by, we'd take our bikes to the airport to watch the teams fly in when they used to fly into Green Bay when they came through. And though even bigger than a jumbo jet, we biked over the first time a 747 landed in Green Bay, and that was to pick up, this is great, a bunch of bowlers to take them to Vegas for a big bowling convention. Wow. Which is there anything more than Green Bay? That's what we needed was a 747 to haul all the bowlers to Vegas when they came through. It's crazy. So before we get into more stories of what happened in your time, give me the legacy you feel like you left when you walked out the door.
Just the impetus to keep changing and keeping up with the times. And, it's not the reason I'm gone, but in medicine and maybe IT and stuff like that, you get gray hair, the business, even if the players who come in gravitate to the young people. So my legacy was redesigning the athletic training room on the north end twice, and then, having the opportunity to be extremely involved with that side of the building it's in now. And of course, it's all being redone again, not necessarily the athletic training room, but I'd like to think that some little tiny part of it, I don't know a lot about football. I know there's a white line at one end and a white line at the other end. It's really good to cross one and not really good to let the other team cross the other one. So I know that about football, but I've also learned this. If you've got a really good quarterback, you got a chance. And we've had two really good quarterbacks. So you can say anything that we did and whatever did, but last I checked, you've got a really good quarterback, you got a chance.
And sorry, John.
No, go ahead, Trev.
I was going to say, and you have really, really nice rings from those two really nice quarterbacks that you've been with. I was curious in your memories, and you talk about your legacy and all, like, what was the difference in those Super Bowl victories, right? 31 and 45, you were there for them both, but man, those teams were completely different, yet really good quarterbacks.
31, we knew we were really good. I'm just going to say there was a feeling we were really good. And we were really good in Super Bowl 32 too, but I think that we thought we were too good and understated what the Denver Broncos and how much they wanted it. After losing 4 of them, they deserved to win that one. I don't know. The difference was Brett and Aaron are totally different people. Brett's just a country boy, and Aaron's a California cool. And Brett's mother loved to watch him play football because every time he threw a ball, somebody caught it. And whereas Aaron was surgical, is and remains surgical. And here's our favorite son, Brett Favre, and this young buck comes in. And again, I don't know anything about football, but we're in I think then we called it the barn. I don't think that wasn't the Hudson Center as we know it down, indoor facility. And watch this young Buck Rogers guy throw a football. And I do know this, when it spirals on a frozen rope and goes where it's supposed to, you say, this guy might be good.
And he turns out like that. It just took a while to convince people.
Like an opportunity and stuff. Yeah. I think there's still people who aren't convinced because, he's so California deep. People are like, they love him. Yeah. Nope, we're off him now. Oh, he wins a couple games. We're on him. So. Yeah.
You don't know a lot about football, but you know about athletes. Tell me, because I don't know that the general fan understands how tough these dudes are and what they go through to get on the field every Sunday.
People don't always know who the greatest athlete is on the team. One of the finest athletes, and I'm going to evolve back just spontaneously to Wisconsin, in my time was Al Toon. Oh, my goodness. He had a balance and a grace that he ran, and Al was very successful in his concussions and the like. But in the same vein, a receiver, we had Johnny Lamb Jones from Texas. He was from Lampasas, and he was on the Olympic sprint medley 4-time, whatever, shows what I don't know about sports.
Yeah.
My goodness gracious, what he ran, it stopped you, and you just wanted to watch that grace in motion. Problem was when the ball hit him in the hands, it always didn't work out that well.
So, Trev, I'm going to interject here because this is my opportunity. So, Lamb Jones was on a 4x1 team that won a gold medal in '76 in the Olympics, and he was barely out of high school. And Al Toon also was an All-American triple jumper. He was fantastic as well. Track guys, I'm just telling you, they're everywhere.
Always comes back to
these
track.
These guys aren't only just great athletes and getting in, Pep, but just like these are tough SOB. Like most people wouldn't get out of bed to go to work if they were an office job. Some of these guys have.
No, none of the three of us, if we did to our fingers what they do every day, you wouldn't be able to type the computer. Of course, you couldn't use a cell phone. You couldn't. I mean, I just can't. I mean, there's too many examples, John, of toughness and brokenness and broken that. And I've seen everything from quadriplegia on the field. Haven't really had any cardiac emergencies. One of our coaches, Gil Haskell here, we thought he was dead on the sideline of the Dallas championship game. And the only way that our fans and viewers could view this is if players would say, you're in a car accident every Sunday. And people who have been in, I don't want to say bad car accidents, but they're sore for weeks and lawsuits and neck things. But a football player gets ready to play 7 days later. Your body's not designed, God did not design it to get well in 7 days. But they have to get well in 6 days and play on the seventh day. And that's it. It doesn't make any sense.
I'll just follow this up. When I was in Phoenix, which was the only time I was in a city covering a pro team every day, about week 7 or 8, when the bye week was coming, I'd go through and just do a story, and I'd just say, show me where it hurts. And what these guys would show you, and you're like, oh my goodness. And I can still remember Eric Hill, who was their middle linebacker, and he had a neck brace on. He had a boot and was on crutches, and he literally was probable on the injury report. Yeah, and this was Tuesday, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, but you throw me up a softball because the difference is that the difference is between hurt and injury. These guys are hurt every day from the day they walk in to the day they walk out, and we try to make some thesaurus difference in injury. You're hurt or you're injured. They're always hurt. We hope they're not always injured, and I know that's a fine line to try to describe.
All right, let's take a break. And I don't know if this is break number 1 in episode 2 or 3 with Pep, but we haven't even scratched the surface yet. We are back in just a second with former athletic trainer of the Green Bay Packers, Pepper Burruss. We're inside Wisconsin.
Inside Wisconsin is brought to you by Baycare Clinic, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, Rolltech, Festival Foods, Capital Credit Union, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, American Family Insurance, Miller Lite, and Aaron's Company.